Hello everyone, welcome to this side of the internet. My name is Brandon, and let's talk about 3D. I used to be against 3D as far as like digital painting went. Like I didn't feel right using it. Even though I love 3D, I have a little history in 3D. I played around with it back in high school a lot, and then in college I learned a little bit more about it. But then I forgot everything, and then now I had to relearn it again. But I really wanted to apply it to my digital art. I wouldn't have to worry about things like perspective as much. And I was against that a little bit because I felt like if I wasn't struggling with perspective every single time in my art, then I wasn't learning. Like if I just let 3D handle my perspective, then I wasn't learning the fundamentals. And while that's true, I guess, that's pretty true, it's also kind of false, right? Okay, so bear with me here. If I'm drawing from 3D, it's teaching me perspective. It's showing me exactly how it needs to be. So if I'm relying on that, then I know it's going to be right. If I'm stumbling around with perspective with just drawing it in, I could some things can slip. I might not follow the lines exactly, because there's so many lines, especially in 3-point perspective. There's so many lines you gotta pay attention to, and it can get tedious, and I hate tedious things. And that's weird as an artist because because art can be very tedious, especially realism, which is something that I've dabbled in. Like when I started out really early, I was all about realism, and I'd spend 9 months on one painting. And then I realized, hey, this sucks. I hate spending this much time on it. I like creating things, and I like seeing the final piece. I do like the process, but if the process is months long, then, yeah. So, using 3D is okay, in my book. Because ultimately, you're still in control. You're still the artist. You can still design and create concepts. If you have an idea in your head, you can still build it. You're not like just grabbing a photo and then changing the color balance and then calling it yours, right? You're still building this stuff up. And that's the same thing with photobashing. I mean, like as long as you have an idea, I think, and then you can execute that idea, you're still playing an artistic role, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So with our egos aside, we dive into Blender, and my idea before I started was a beach house. I just took vacation at Panama City, and I was doing a couple color studies while I was there, and I was very inspired by the atmosphere there, and I just had this idea for a simple little beach house. With that in mind, I did also have a picture reference, because reference is great because we only got so much stuff we can hold in our head. Each house. Alright, here it is. So this actually was a lot of inspiration. This was pretty much exactly the idea that I wanted when doing the 3D rendering, but I just wanted facing the beach, I guess. So I think anybody could really get to this point. I mean, this isn't really that big of a deal. I think even new people to 3D could just download Blender 2.8 and watch some YouTube videos and tutorials on some of the basics and get here. Some people that I've been watching is Blender Guru. He's really good. But really, Marco Bucci's 3D course on he has it on Skillshare, but I think he also has it on his Gumroad account. But he's like my mentor on everything. Everything he teaches is gold. So if you're into digital painting and want to learn more about that in 3D, then definitely check him out. So yeah, we got our 3D built. We got our ego aside, so we're using all the tools in the toolbox. We're using 3D, we're using photos, we're using Control Z. So we're past all that. So we are trying to make a great house. So what I did here is I started exporting things out. So here's my camera shot that I got it set up, and if I hit Shift Z, no, just D, I can show you the rendered look. So you can see how my sun's coming out and how I got the shadows and everything. And that's also another good thing about 3D is it using light sources, and it can show you like bounce light and cast shadows, and so you don't have to figure that out either, which I'm sure if you had to would be a great exercise. But if you don't have to, then you know, you can let 3D do it for you, right? Okay, so I rendered out, let's see here, photos. I rendered out just a plain white version for shadows, basically. So I would use this in Photoshop to reestablish my shadows, so that when I'm painting on it, I'm adding photo textures and everything, I get kind of lost from the original idea. I could put this back on top, apply multiply, and then everything kind of restructurizes itself, you know. Okay, so I'm never gonna get too lost from the original idea. I'm pretty mild with the photo bashing in this one, but in this one, this was like my first photo bashing kind of practice that I did. This one, I used a lot of textures and a lot of chaos in the background. So it was nice to have that. It was actually this layer, and set it back to multiply once I get all these textures in, and it kind of just reestablished my scene and my original idea. So I never got too far away from my initial idea. When you're using photo bashing, it can be easy to get carried away with that. And happy accidents is great. I'm not opposed to that. So yeah, a color version. This is the one that I'm actually painting on top of and throwing the photos on top of and sending the overlays and everything. That way I can have that color to help with it, so I'm not just laying them directly on white, which is fine, it doesn't matter, but this just kind of helps. And then I didn't want to make a selection for every single post for the wood texture, and I kind of wanted that to all be self-contained, so I didn't have to go in and make a selection of them all. So I did export this out by itself, and these are all on PNG's transparent background, so it makes it really easy. And then you just drag and drop all that in to Photoshop and have them all scaled the same, and they lay right on top of each other. So I can make, actually, let me just go ahead and show you the final product. So this shot and this shot was what we ended up with. But you can see, like, I still had this here to help reinforce. And so, like, if I felt like the shadows was too far gone there, I could just put this on multiply. And you can see how it kind of umps it up. But I'm fine with the shadows right there, so I don't need that. And then you can see my selection here that I kept for my posts. So if I was working around those, that made it a lot easier. Yeah, so that's that. A lot of different techniques going in here. Photo bashing for some of these rocks and some of the houses back here. And then these rocks were mostly digitally painted. I think I did have a texture at first, but then they got so distorted from what they originally were. The colors and everything, pretty much my choice, I believe. Yeah, a lot of it's, I don't know, like 30% painted, 70% photo, maybe 60% photo, because a lot of these were painted in after. That's what I like. I like to throw in a photo for that texture, and then I'll go back over and paint over it for the details that I want in, and it helps kind of blend it all together. And then I think I added just a sharpen filter and a little bit of noise at the end, and that way it helped kind of unify it all. And then for my night version, I think I laid a multiply layer on top, which was like a blue color. Just filled the whole layer with blue, and then apply it to multiply, or set it to multiply. And then I started painting in these posts And yeah, that's the final piece. I guess that's really all I wanted to say about 3D and my experience with this. And I'd like to keep doing more of these. They definitely are a lot quicker, and you can get results faster, which is great. And it's another tool in your toolbox, right? So you don't want to go build a house with just a screwdriver, right? Or whatever. Like, this is a terrible analogy, but you get the idea. Like, you want all the tools. You want a saw. You want whatever it takes to build a house. So don't limit yourself with art, too. Like, if you're struggling with perspective and maybe, like, 3D is a viable alternative for you, then go for it. It just depends what you're into, really. If you want to be able to draw things on the fly, on pencil and paper, maybe 3D is not the best thing. But if you want to create things quickly and you want to create them for maybe a movie producer or a game studio, 3D is a great source. And I don't know where my artistic life's heading, and if I'll ever work in the industry, or if I'm just going to be a YouTuber / just hobbyist or whatever. But I'm having fun with this, so I think I'm going to keep on doing it. Alright guys, as always, thanks for watching. Use Control Z, and I'll see you in the next one.